Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Trish.
Mrs. Brew?
Here.
Mr. Kramer?
Here.
Mr. Menegini? Mr. Marraro?
Here.
Mr. Pop?
Here.
We'll move on to the approval of the agenda. He's supposed to be coming.
He's on his way.
So if I have to come back to that, I will. Are there any questions on the agenda? If not, can I have a motion?
Support.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Marraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes. Approval of minutes. Do you want me to do these all separately? That's okay. Budget workshop, May 11th, 2023.
Make motion to approve budget workshop May 11th, 2023.
Support.
Mr. Marraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Budget workshop of May 15th, 2023.
Motion to approve budget workshop May 15th, 2023.
Support.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Marraro?
Yes.
Regular meeting of May 15th, 2023.
Make motion to approve regular meeting of May 15th, 2023.
Support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Marraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Special meeting of May 17th, 2023.
Make motion to approve special meeting of May 17th, 2023.
Support.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Marraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes. We'll move on to Manifest 2023-11. Scott, did you have any questions? Brett?
I have none, thank you.
Jeff?
I do. Page 1, admin. Go down to see WPPI Energy. We got a double exact charge back to back, 1207.33.
Are you looking at the 1207.33?
We got Natalie looking at it.
I know what this is. So we had 2 credit bills from WPPI. So when we got the first one, I didn't enter it because it wasn't going to generate a check. I thought when we got the next month's, it would generate a check. That was also a credit. So I just entered both of those. So you'll see like there's charges and then you'll see some negatives in there as well.
We'll see negatives next month, is what you're telling us?
No, there's negatives in this one. as
Later
well.
down?
Yep. Because
Okay.
the bill is distributed, it's charged to, the computer expense is charged to general fund, but then there's also a charge to electric.
So the credits are coming in under your electric fund?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Once again, Go Tech, $3,708.23 from
Where are
June,
you at there?
right underneath it, 2 spots down. $3,708.23 for June 2023 IT managed services. Dan, I really want to see a breakdown of what we're provided
Okay.
from
Yeah,
Go Tech.
I can do that.
I mean, you're talking, you know,
Yeah,
40,
it's about 40,000 or so a year.
Right.
That I can manage, and that's just our basic services.
yeah, I'd like to see a breakdown on what Go Tech's providing for the
Sure.
3708 every month. Thanks. Page 2. Under general fund, another double entry for professional services, rug towel changeouts, DPW 8712 and 8712. Is that just 2 separate rugs or what is that?
Those are, exactly, I'm not 100% sure. I'm assuming that that's similar to our Airmark type of service, but I don't know 100%. I don't know if Natalie or Trish or Scott in the room may have a better understanding, but I'm assuming it's something like that.
It is absolutely Airmark. I know that vendor, that is Airmark, but what it exactly pertains to, that I don't know.
No, because it's under DPW.
But I just
Yeah,
know
they do
the
have
vendor
as
name
well.
is.
Every department has
Right.
a rug can change it out.
I'm taking a look at the invoices right now. You just want to give me 1 second?
Hey, Rick.
Excuse my tardiness, please. It's a good game. Lost track of time.
Oh, yeah. So they service us twice a month. This one's 512, this one's 526. We just paid them on one check.
Understood. We just can't see that on this because there's no dates. So now that we know it's bi-monthly, it'll be easier for us to understand it. Thank you. Right underneath there, MSC Industrial Supply, urinal deodorizers, drill bits, and tissue, $451.18. Either they're hell of urinal deodorizers or we got some big drill bits.
Well, we can provide that actual itemized bill as well. Natalie probably has that.
Yep, I'm looking for it.
And it's pretty interesting to see drill bits in with toiletries.
Yeah. So I can explain that. MSC comes around, I think, to the street department once a week, and they basically take care of all their like perishables, all their shop supply issues. So whether it be soap, toilet paper, drill bits, hydraulic fittings, that's kind of the catch-all there with MSC.
Have we used them
Forever.
forever?
Yeah. It used to be, yes, back in the day it was called something else, but life of me escapes me. What it used to be, what did Conway used to work for? It wasn't MSC, you know, it changed about 5 years ago. I can't think of what the company used to be called, but
I remember, yeah, I thought it was under something.
it was some, Barnes, that's it. Barnes Distributing, now it's MSC.
Thank you.
Two underneath that one, Zarnoff Brushworks, poly cable wrap and gutter broom, $741.50. Anybody?
I know what that is.
That's the sort of street sweeper.
Street sweeper.
Street sweeper?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Dropping on a rec department, tree planting order,
I
$6,000.
had that one too.
$6,044. I guess we ordered a lot of trees.
And where are they going?
And where are they going?
So
And who's paying for them?
Look at this sheet.
that is everyone that places their tree order. We charge everything, we pay this bill, and then the residents reimburse us. So they paid us for their trees, we just pay the bill, and they get their trees.
What is it, $150 a tree?
Right around 200, 185, 200.
So
that's good.
over 30 trees,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Okay,
good.
good,
There's been a ton of them.
Yeah.
good. Right underneath that, Marion Park dumpster, contract services, June 2023, $613.29.
Yep, those are our dumpsters at Marion Park through GFL.
How many dumpsters do we have at Marion Park?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. I wanted to say it was 4 or 5.
Why would we not have one dumpster at Marion Park and have trash cans that get dumped into said dumpster?
You just
For $613 a month?
Well, I can check to see how many we have there. I'm pretty sure it's more than one, but it is expensive. Yeah, the dumpsters are certainly not cheap, but dumpsters are typically what you would find at a commercial type thing like a park.
$175 a month we pay for a commercial dumpster at, right now.
I'm sorry, say that again, Jeff?
$175, I believe, is the price we pay for the commercial dumpster. So that would be the equivalent of about 4 of them. And I can't see why we would have 4 full-size commercial dumpsters sitting at Marion Park.
Yeah.
It's $613 a month is all I'm saying.
That invoice.
Doesn't it go by weight?
Well, it does.
No,
but
it
you're
goes by
also
volume.
paying-
Oh, volume.
Yeah, then they got the 2-yard, 4-yard, so it's,
I just can't believe that much garbage is being generated out there. Maybe I'm wrong.
yeah, I can look at it, we can look into that.
Thank you.
Well, there's a lot of garbage generated. They don't, like the girls over today, that was their thing, even if that was the weekend. And it was jam packed. They were
So one dumpster maybe being serviced more than once a month.
What's that?
Maybe it's being serviced more than,
That's right, that's what it would have to be, is what my point is, I'd just like to know if that's the case. Page 4, guys. Electric transmission. SS water bottle, WPPI reimbursement, $1,662.
Oh, this was a bill that we paid, WPPI reimbursed us for it. It was part of this is old, this was part of, those Norway City water bottles.
Yeah, they're the metal city water bottles.
So that's promotion.
Gotcha,
Yeah,
gotcha.
That's a promotion.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was paid through,
WPPI.
yeah, we have those funds that we have to use, so we did, that was.
Page 5. Electric hydro plant. Purchase of 2 vehicles, $132,584. So we had 110,000 that we let loose from the renewable energy credits. And I'm assuming the other 22 and change is the insurance for the total truck?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Glad we spent every single dime of that.
Well, we got 15,000 left over from the sale of the racks.
So you got more money for the wreck?
Yeah, we did.
You're supposed to get 110.
Yeah, it was
We got
just
124,000.
Good job. I'm good. Thanks.
All right, Jeff took care of some of my questions. Mine is under transmission distribution. Let's see, 752. Natalie, you don't have to look this up. It's a single-phase pad mount. Where did we put that at?
What was the total cost of that one?
$13,542.88.
From TNR? Yes, okay. So we ordered those December of '21, and they just came in.
So it's not just one?
No, it was 7 transformers.
Okay. Did they raise the price from when we ordered them or no?
No, that was the approved price from the council at the time, so we're fine there. The prices have gone up exponentially since then.
Okay.
But yeah, no, that was already pre-approved. It just took forever for them to come.
Do you have spots for them, or is that just something we have?
Those are actually for inventory, believe it or not, because our inventory's, yeah, it's getting depleted. We actually just lost a transformer this weekend, Marion Park. So lightning took that one out. It just, you figure you're gonna go through between 6 and 10 transformers a year just through failure.
That's all I have. If there's no other questions, do I have a motion for the manifest 2023-11?
I make a motion to approve the manifest 2023-11 in the amount of $878,033.76.
Support.
I'm sorry, who supported that? Mr. Moraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
yes.
I don't believe we have any previous manifest questions, do we?
I don't believe so.
You guys remember anything? Okay. Public comment. Anyone in attendance wishing to address the council on any item of interest shall do so now at the podium. State your name and address for the record. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person. Hello.
Hi, I'm Carly Cavaleras, 314 Main Street, Norway. I've lived there for 15 years, and since I started gardening 7 or 8 years ago, I've always had the opportunity to use the water and not pay for the sewage on that. And I kind of wanted to know why that changed. There is at least 25% of the population of the city of Norway are senior citizens, and that really, you know, you might be looking at $10 or something a month, but it really does affect people's budget. And I'm wondering exactly why did that change? I mean, I know last year, I believe the notices you put out said that you were looking into it and whatnot, and then finally we were told that it wasn't coming back. And it was mentioned again this year that it's not coming back. And I just kind of want to know why we're being charged for something that we're not using.
Brock, do you want to take that answer or question? Okay.
What we've been seeing at the plant is that we were treating the same amount of water with or without that credit.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. What I was seeing at the wastewater plant is that we were treating the same amount of water with or without that credit, give or take a few gallons. So the majority of the water usage, we believe, is being put down the drain. I do agree with you that the stuff going on the ground, you know, we have a hard time with a separate meter would be the only way, the fairest way to have this equal for the homeowners, but at this point, it's not feasible.
So you're saying we're not using enough water to actually make a difference?
No,
Right.
no, that's not what you,
I'm saying that
No,
we're
no.
treating the same amount of water, meaning the people that are signing up for the credit
Right.
are using it inside their houses, and we're actually treating that water
Truly?
truly.
Truly.
$21,000.
truly.
Yeah.
When we did the, that's why we waited a year to look at, you know, the changes in that, and that was one of the problems. We felt like people who weren't just watering their lawns, say the kids came home from college, whatever, they were
Right.
signing up for the credit, and, they weren't, you know, they weren't watering their lawns or gardens or flowers.
Right. Okay. My argument would be, those aren't the seniors that are doing that. I suppose their kids might be coming, but there are those of us that really do have a garden, you know.
And we tried to come to a consensus on that, we just couldn't quite come to the right formula of how we could do it.
Right.
You know, and we're not saying everybody's doing
Right,
it.
right.
But the problem is, we have no way of tracking who's doing it and who isn't doing it.
Right.
And the only way that, you know, I seen feasible was with the meter thing. You'd have to pay for your own, a separate meter in that, but then we also had trouble with how we were gonna bill that. We kinda had sticks in different directions.
Right. So it's a case basically of some people wrecking it for a lot of people.
Yes.
Yes,
All
absolutely.
right, thank you.
I'm biting my tongue.
Anyone else? Anyone in attendance wishing to address the council on an agenda item only shall do so now at the podium. State your name and address for the record. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes. We'll move on to action items. Item number 1, special event, Music in the Park Concert Series, Carol Sundstrom, the petitioner. If you guys look in your book, they do this every year. I think, is there a lot of changes to this? Because I looked through it and I didn't see.
No changes.
No
except
changes.
She has a trailer parked on 9th where it's closed, where she's selling pre-cooked hot dogs.
Okay.
That's new.
Well, she used to do it,
They sold them before,
before.
but they weren't in a trailer or anything. Does anybody else have any questions on that? Comments?
Why are we selling food again at this event? Why the change? Food and dessert, I see.
They always had ice cream too at one
They
time.
always had it, but I don't think it was ever put on
Well, you're already disrupting Main Street and businesses on Main Street. and now we're going to, you know, sell food that we have other businesses that sell food at that time.
I think the thing is because it's down here, and we're also gonna have a farmer's, well, it's not called a fire, if you read through your agenda, let's see. where
Open
it
air
is.
market.
Yeah, open air market on the street that night too, for crafters or whatever to come in.
And it does all go back to the music in the park.
That's-
Concerts.
That's great. I think that's awesome. I also want to make sure that, you know, our restaurants and things are taken care of as well.
Yeah, and if we just real quick, when we get to the open air market, just, we're really gonna try to make a concerted effort that all businesses are, at the forefront of that market, whether they're selling or promoting, because we certainly wanna make sure that all of our local businesses are a part of this. Yours included, and the Night Owl, and, you know,
Nothing to do
the
with mine.
financial place down the street, all of everybody. I think Deb is there, she'll go over kind of more of that, we get into it, but we certainly are reaching out to everybody to make sure they're also a part of this.
Just so we have clarification, since you brought my business into it, I do not sell anything cooked. So
No.
this will not affect my personal business.
No, we're reaching out to every business to come down and be a part of this.
Thank you.
Edward Jones, I think, is our first, first one in there.
Okay, so let's stay on item number 1. Is there any other questions on item number 1? If not, do I have a motion?
I make motion that the music in the park application be approved as presented.
Support.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Mararo?
Yes.
Before we move on to, I also want to thank Carol Sundstrom for organizing this, and Mr. Hunt every year. I know that they put a lot of work into this, and it's hard to get volunteers. They also go around to different businesses and things to collect the money to make sure this is feasible. So I want to make sure that if you go and you enjoy it, I know we're getting a lot of good turnouts for it, and you happen to see these people, give them a little thank you, because volunteers are hard to come by, and these two have been doing it for many years. I'll move on to item number 2, special event, Norway Open Air Market, DDA petitioner Debbie Hood.
Okay, would you let me just start this off?
I'll let you start it off, and then I'll let Debbie.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So this did kind of start at the DDA. We, just kind of look at different things we can do downtown. And the discussion of the farmers market came up, and looking for the best place to bring that into town. We thought would be the best in conjunction with music in the park, to have that built-in audience and provided the farmers market with its best chance to succeed. Debbie Hood, who is the DDA's part-time summer person for water flowering and planting, she really kind of ran with this idea and started to reach out to vendors and our local businesses and started to put it all together. It's something we hope will bring people downtown during Music in the Park and stay downtown and kind of be in our general business district. As I stated before, the idea is the Music in the Park is where it usually is, and then on the other side in front of City Hall is where what we are now calling open air market, because we don't only have produce, but we have arts and crafts. And then the first 2 booths will be dedicated to our local businesses. So they can set up and either promote their product, like Edward Jones will be doing, I believe, on the first one. And then whoever else wants to do it throughout the series, whether they sell or just promote. Again, we want to make this open to everybody. You know, the one thing we'll do is try to keep the roads completely closed between 9th and 10th for both events, so there's no traffic going through there. In the past, during Music in the Park, I believe we had some people driving through the barricades causing.
What were them hours?
4:30, they're gonna start. Hard close on Main Street at 4:30?
Well, the reason we said, you know, the events, we were gonna try to close around that time because that's when we left City Hall.
Okay.
We thought that'd be the easiest time to keep traffic out of that one block.
Well, what time does it start at?
I got a calendar, yeah. The market actually starts at 6, and then the vendors start setting up at 5.
Okay.
Previously years when we had just Music in the Park, when did we do the hard close on Main Street?
We changed that a few years back because people were going through, kids are crossing that road, and elderly people are crossing that road, and that traffic going through there. Because we get a lot of people for that. So that's when we close that off.
Yeah, we wanted to keep that parking area on the
Oh, I
street.
say 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, because last year we had some issues with vehicles. We kind of thought being the one block, Main Street in front of City Hall, that wouldn't be too disruptive.
You have 4 businesses past that, going off the highway,
Yep.
but it's not too disruptive.
Go around that
You
one
can
block.
go around the block.
Yeah, you can, still disruptive. People turn up the light and come down to Main Street. You got 4 businesses down there, you're shutting off this block right here.
I just don't see where going around the block one way or the other makes a difference. But
Yep, that's fine.
And it was closed, you know, last summer as well, for the amusement park.
At what time?
Or later than that. I
Yeah,
believe.
it wasn't 4:30.
And it's
Well, we can-
one day out of
We
the
can do
month.
it at 5.
It's just once a month, not once a week?
Oh, no, it's once a week,
It's
right?
once a week.
Once a week for what, 5 weeks?
What's your schedule?
I'll look at. I got the schedule. It's in the agenda, Jeff.
No. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
Yeah, 2.5 months, thanks.
If this is a recurring thing, what we can do is set up the barricades and have detour signs kind of prepared on them too, and have that route kind of pre-packed.
But it does bring a lot of people down, Jeff, that will still use the businesses down there. Does anybody else agree with that? Have a problem with blocking off?
Well, I've ran into the same thing up in Iron Mountain when they do their park. They've got that road by the library there. I know what you're saying, it's a pain in the butt.
Yep.
However, I mean, I think the event in itself draws a lot more
Right.
people to that area.
I mean, I could see if it
than
was
the pain
every
in the
day
butt.
or a couple
Yeah.
times, one day a week. Most people get used to it. They know that barricade is there.
There's
We
a
can
couple
do it at
opinions.
5,
It's a
you know,
trade-off.
we can-
I think it's a worthwhile trade-off.
Go ahead, Dan.
I say, you know, if 4:30 is too early, and we can do the 5 o'clock for, when the vendors start to come in to set up, make it, you know, a little later.
Well, you're gonna have to block it because they're gonna come in and set up, and you don't want them on the, out there on the Main Street setting up without a blockade there.
Yeah,
Then you're
we
talking,
probably close it at 5, let the vendors come in to set up, and the vendors can come and go.
I thought that, they're coming in, I thought I read somewhere they're coming in at 5 o'clock.
Yep, they set up at 5, so we could close it at 5, but it's open for the vendors to come in. It's just to keep the general traffic out during that time. And when the vendors set up, then they drive out and park elsewhere, and then we would reclose it to the general public.
Well, you can't have them setting up and not have it barricaded off, is what I'm saying. Could get hurt or whatever.
Right, I mean, they're the only ones that, you know, if we close it off at 5, we're the only ones in there. Because the music in the park hasn't started yet
Right.
at that time.
But what I'm saying is, how can you open it and not close it off before that to set up?
I think we would have someone there to let the vendors come in. And then I guess I'm not sure.
What kind of music does music stop?
That's the, they're starting out.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is if you're having people set up tables or whatever for 5 o'clock, you have to block it off so they can get in there before 5 o'clock and set their stuff up, so there's no danger to the citizens setting up in there.
Correct, it would be closed, except for when a vendor approaches, it would just be the vendors for the open air market after that point. So it would just be them pulling their trailer and unloading and leaving, so we'd be controlling that.
You still would have to block it off though, is what I'm saying.
Yes, we have barricades there, so we
Yes.
have to open the barricade
Yes.
for each individual vendor only.
Well, it doesn't matter who's in there, it's gotta be barricaded off, is what I'm trying, the point I'm making.
Yeah. And we would have barricades there blocking that road.
Go ahead, Debbie.
Our vendors are coming in between 5 and 6 as they're set up. I
Okay.
will have at the barricade, they are workers. I have volunteers who will be there at 5. They will have a list of all of our vendors. They will open the gate. They will be that they are approved that they are here. They'll open up that blockade, leave them come in, do their load or set up. And then they'll be out and they will have them park on 10th Ave somewhere so that they are aware. And they will come in from 5 to 6. And then they will be there from, the market opens at 6 o'clock and we will be there till 8.
So we could block it off at 5 then?
Yes,
Instead
we
of
can
4.
block it
Yeah.
off at 5 if that helps you.
Don't worry about me.
I want to answer your question.
Appreciate it.
One of your questions, if I can. I did go down from the night all the way down, and I have asked our businesses, I will have a table set up for them, and to ask them to come and meet our public, because I am like you, everybody comes to the music, nobody goes down, and nobody goes down the other way towards the church. So I do have, let's see, I think we have 7 that'll be coming down to meet the public. So I thought maybe that would help, because we have visitors, we have people who are moving in, maybe they don't know about our people downtown.
That's true. That's a
So
good idea.
I'm hoping that might generate during whatever, people take a walk the other way or go down. Mr. Mom's has their open air kitchen, I believe. She is going to open her gate, so she will be selling food during the music and the market. So maybe that'll help a little.
Finish your presentation.
I don't know your business, so I am very
You don't need to know my
sorry.
business.
Oh, you don't have a business? Oh, I thought you had a business downtown. I thought I missed you.
I have a business downtown.
Where are you?
Let's keep
I-
it directed to this.
Okay, sorry. So that is, we have, I believe it's, on our days when we have all of our vendors here, I believe we have 8 of them. They are not always going to be here. I also have one-time vendors where people who are going to come in, and they'll be here just 1 or 2 nights, sometimes 3 of the event nights. And that way we are constantly having something a little bit new so that people go, oh, it's the same thing over and over. Hopefully with this extra, we will be able to, generate a little bit more, that people come and look more than once. Anything else I can help you with?
I appreciate you working on this, Debbie. We talked about this for a long time with the DDA and we never really went forward with it. So, I really appreciate you taking the time to go out there and, get people to come in. I think it's a great idea, to get people to come into our town. And it's, a good time to do it because if we're gonna be blocked off for the music anyway, I feel that way. And I really appreciate the work that you put into it, and I hope everything goes well.
too.
I like it too, sorry, Beth. I like the idea too. I just question, is there a different location that this could be held at? Like on the other side of Viaduct, or by Strawberry, in the grass area?
Well, we talked about that at the DDA, and reason we did it is because the bands and whatever are here, so this is where the people are. So that's why she went forward to try to have everything in.
I agree with that, but is there a way that, you know, we could put up some type of stage over there, you know, temporary stage over there?
Then you wouldn't be using the band shell.
Don't use it. It's falling apart as it is.
Can I?
Yeah, yes.
My vision for this is that eventually it will move to Strawberry.
Because that was our first thought.
Yeah.
That was
And you
our
have
first
bathrooms
thought.
over there, you have a beautiful, and the kids can be in the park over there, and you have a lot of area for vendors over there.
And we'll put electrical in all the way so our vendors will have electric.
That would be great.
There's more. If this goes well, the reason it is called an open air market is that hopefully we can get this to grow. And I've already been approached, like when there's a 50s night, when they have the music, I have a gentleman who would like to have classic cars come down. He has about 10 friends, so you would have that. I also was approached, maybe, what about one night having an extra area where you have antique dealers and different things like that. So hopefully if this goes well, we'll be able to move it and we'll be able to expand it and we can generate more. It's more to hopefully turn, the reason it wasn't a farmer's market or a craft market was so that it has room to grow and become different things.
Okay.
We have a strawberry social, hopefully that the ladies are going to do one night, so we could expand on that next year maybe. You know, make it grow with everything and make Norway an event place.
Yeah, and you know, we put a lot of hours into this on the DDA talking about different things, and if this doesn't work, like she said, we can move it,
Yeah.
you know, go someplace else with it. But
It's-
I like the idea that, you know, you see in a lot of different areas that have these farmers markets or, you know, not, they can't, what they call farm. It's really neat going there, you know,
Yes.
especially when you got the different types of vegetables and stuff that you usually don't get.
We want it to be just a little different than everybody else, so everybody goes, well, what is this?
Yeah.
Make it just a little more interesting, hopefully.
do we have any other questions?
Yep.
for council?
Yes, sir.
I think the idea is great.
I'm sorry?
I think the idea is great, and I appreciate your hard work. But you all have to remember one thing, the DDA is put in place to build the downtown district and help the local businesses. And anything that it can hurt that is not the mission of the DDA.
I just.
Andy, I'm not done.
Ah,
I'm not done. So, we pay extra taxes. The reason the DDA is there is because of the downtown district businesses, right? That's what everybody has to keep in mind. And you're talking
all right, you're,
8 weeks of our busiest time in the summer,
enough. Let's move on.
okay? Don't gavel me down.
The only thing I have a question about is for your vendors, what kind of guidelines did we go off of? I mean, did we stay within, to Grant's answer maybe, like within our guidance of who can be on there, who can be vendors, who can't be vendors? I mean, have we done that?
I think, I'm not sure, but Mr. Tinty might have done that.
Okay.
Because we have a lawyer there,
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but that's a good question.
Just making sure, you know, that it's not, we're not going against something there, right?
Right.
As far as our vendors.
Yes, we've been careful. I also have, they fill out a risk management.
Okay.
So if something would happen, the city of
Okay.
Norway is not liable. Also, I have some guidelines. My guidelines were very, I have two. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It wasn't, you couldn't sell out of the back of your car or the back of a truck. You do have to have, because you are in front of our city.
And I do agree with you, Brett, you can't just come in and sell.
Right, well, you know,
Yes,
just
and the
yeah,
other
anything.
thing is it had to be You can't buy it off the internet and come down here and sell it.
Okay.
It has to be a craft you made, the growing you did, the baking you did, things like that. That's what they are.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
And perhaps to your point, we could come up with a more stricter guideline. We've kind of just been vetting these one at a time. Making sure that, we're not selling things that would be nothing that's not age appropriate. Anyone that's selling food has to be fully licensed appropriately through the health department. But to get to your point, we certainly could come up with a more strict guideline in the future.
Dan, do you know if Steve looked into that or no?
We talked about it. I haven't spoken to him. If he came up with it, the biggest thing we talked about is, we have so many spaces open. It's kind of from a first come, first serve. We don't want to, we're not going to discriminate against a certain business or multiple, same types of businesses down there. But, I don't see any issue with the vendors we have coming, but if it does grow and gets popular, we certainly will want to perhaps come up with a better guideline, whether it's what they're selling, crafts or food and things like that nature. But right now we only have a handful that are interested. So, but as it grows, yes, we will likely have a little more guidance on that.
Thank you.
Grant, what do you think about the whole disclaimer? Does that protect us enough?
I haven't seen it. I guess one thing, depending on where the council votes, that at least I'm getting an impression of where it'll go. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. And I think, I've started to use one of Rico's comments, don't let this pursuit of perfection get in the way of something really good. And sometimes the attorney gets involved and starts screwing things up and makes it so difficult that you can't do what you want to do. So I'm not suggesting that at all. If that's council's prerogative, we'll find a way to make it work, but we just got to make sure to protect everybody, you included. One of the things that jumps in my mind, when we were doing the Norway 125 a few years ago, we spent a lot of time preparing for that event, and we have policies as to vendor. We have a vendor policy, we have a hold harmless policy. So at a minimum, I would ask council, in the motion to include a reference to new time, but also require each and every vendor to sign a hold harmless and indemnification agreement. And then from the city's perspective, as Candy has said, and it sounds like you guys are looking at here, this music in the park. I've been down to it a few times. It just seems like it's something out of 1950s Mayberry when you have a beautiful night and good music. And it's popular. So I understand you're trying to build off of that. This is taking it to another level if it works and see where it goes. I think it's important to come up with, and have a policy, because you can start getting snowballs, and all of a sudden you say okay to one vendor but not the other vendor, and then you say yes, that works for this vendor but not the other vendor, and you can really start getting a good thing can turn into a bad thing quickly. So I think it's just a good idea to be out ahead of it, and we don't need to make this, this isn't, downtown Appleton where we're going to have 1,000 vendors. But, if this takes off, is your vision, it might start with 3 or 4 or 5 and turn into 10 or 15 or 20. It just depends. So I think it's just a good idea to work to develop, as fast as we can, some policies that give you and the folks that are running this something to be able to utilize and reference, so it doesn't put you in a tough spot, and also the council, the city as well. It's something that the city is saying, hey, you can use our street. So I think it's important to have some of those policies in place. And again, if I remember correctly, when we did the 125, I think we've got a packet that was developed and utilized, and at least, from my recollection, it worked pretty well. So I can just brush that off and perhaps get a hold of you afterwards and distribute that before our first concert.
Dan and Debbie, I do remember at one time when we were talking about this, we were gonna use the side street over here. Was there a reason why we weren't gonna use the side street next to the band shell?
Side street was was our expansion or overflow if we got more participation.
Because I remember I brought that up first, and then I can't remember why we went to the Main Street.
Well, it was, I think it was just a cleaner, spot for it. The building there helps block some of the main of the music, so it's maybe a little quieter in the vendor area, and then to walk over to the music area. It just seemed to make the most sense doing that kind of contiguous portion, since that.
Don't we have that blocked off anyway? Yeah, that's why I was thinking if we did that over there, then Main Street wouldn't be blocked off as early. But I just don't remember why we decided to do it there.
Yeah, because the music in the park sections already has that blocked off. And I believe we pulled an Iron Mountain application form, and I was looking at the indemnification agreement that we have, which we can clean up. I wasn't aware of the other festival that we put on in that packet. We did talk about, this crew that, we have different policies beyond your standard indemnification agreement. With the very few we had, I didn't see as much of an issue beyond that at this point.
So if we decide and we make a motion, maybe we'd have a stipulation that Grant look over and make sure that we're covered. Put that part of the motion if it were there.
Along with pushing the barricade time back to 5 PM instead of 4:30 is listed.
Any other questions? All right, if not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Norway Open Air Market with the amended 5 PM barricade time pursuant a hold harmless indemnification agreement.
And anything else, Grant?
Acceptable by Grant Carlson and city attorneys.
Support.
Menegini Kramer?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Mararo?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes, but I'd like to see the indemnification.
That's what I.
Sooner than later.
We'll move on to item number 3, Police Department kind agreement. Would you like me to go to Mr. Wilkie with this?
Yeah, just briefly, this is something that, I'm not terribly familiar with. We've done it for years. My understanding is we've always had it built into the budget. And, all the other committees are currently signed up or going to their councils, I believe, this week or the week prior for agreement. But Chief Wilkie is there to provide more information and answer any of your questions.
You want to come up, Pat? Does anybody have any questions for Pat?
It's basically the same agreement that's been signed over the years. This is the first increase they've had in 20 years. When I looked into it, they upped it to 50 cents to $1.25 per census. It's obviously, we've had wages have gone up, cost of drugs have gone up. Basically the fund the kind team and to be proactive at keeping drugs off our streets, not our communities.
Does anybody else have questions for Pat or Dan? If not, do I have a motion?
I move to recommend the agreement be approved and that the mayor be authorized to execute the document, the kind agreement.
Support.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Mararo?
Yes.
Mr. Pop? Mrs. Brew?
Yes. Item number 4, Police Department portable radio purchase request.
This is also for Pat, I'll just briefly, it was in this year's budget. It does appear costs have gone up, but again, Pat can answer more questions specific to the item.
Does anybody have any questions for Pat on this?
What was budgeted?
3,300. Jim has been, Chief Schaefer has only been replaced in the radio here. We currently have, I think, 3. We're the fourth one. And price check, about 1,000.
Like everything else. But you still had enough money in your your budget for under this line?
We haven't bought much equipment
Yeah.
this year, so there's so much
What's that time frame that they jumped the grant? When was the last one that was purchased?
I think it was probably 6 months ago.
It was that much. Wow.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that the council approve this item from Elcon Systems of a radio, APX 4000 series portable radio at $4,245.52.
Support.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Mararo?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Item number 5, electric department pay rates.
I'll just kind of start this off, kind of touch a little bit with this on some of you. This isn't an easy one. You know, what this is really about is trying to keep our rates competitive, the electric department with not only private but also other local public entities that have their own lighting. Again, we understand that it's a lot, a large increase per hour for our guys. But when you look at the sheet that Scott Hagee provided, you can see where our current rates are at 34.75 compared to other local municipalities as well as compared to private. We know it's going to be very difficult or impossible to touch some of the higher private ones like We Energies. But what we're trying to do is try to stay competitive with our fellow municipalities who sounds like they're going to be increasing theirs even beyond what this current sheet has. So really this comes down to trying to retain as well as recruit for future employees in this field. And of course, Scott's there to go over this a little bit more. We did start building this potential increase into the budget. So I'll let Scott kind of take the podium from there and answer any questions that you guys have on this.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Scott? I think this is a really hard position we're in, and it's not easy to do this. But the position is bad because there's such a shortage of electrical linemen that everybody's playing their cards to pick up whoever is out there to come to their company or their city. So there ain't really a whole lot that we can do about that, but try to keep the people we got and hopefully entice people to come here. And this isn't a guarantee that people will even stay. We don't know.
Correct. The one thing we offer is, we know that our guys aren't traveling like some of the private sector guys, which is why, perhaps why they get paid what they do, which is why we can't pay what they do. We just hope that, an increase in rate with the stability and the being able to stay close to home is a combination of a big enough incentive to retain or attract perhaps other people from other private companies that just don't want to travel anymore. So it's an interesting position that I haven't seen before when you're comparing it a little more directly to a private entity who are essentially setting these rates. So this is it's a difficult position for us and any of the other municipalities to be in.
Right, and I want people to understand, so they don't think that, we have the comparable here from MJ Electric. I by no means am going off of that, because if you're with MJ, you're out of town, it's a whole different ball game. I'm glad you put it there, Scott, but I really like, the comparables to cities, comparable to our town.
Yeah, I try to keep it fair, man.
Yeah.
Because MJ is not fair.
No.
That's not
No.
apples to apples, but the
Not at all.
ones that we reviewed are similar.
It's the rock and the hard place.
It really is, Jeff. I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
In Upco, it's going up to 51
Yeah.
within 2 years.
Yeah.
Now, that's not MJ travel, but you're not sitting in a town the size of Norway. That you could be bouncing all over the UP
Yes.
In their service area.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a little different, even We Energies is a little different because they can be all over the
yeah.
state,
And I think we're all saying that has a lot of value.
that you can be,
That it
Well,
does.
it-
How much value,
right.
that's the rock, or that's part of the rock and the hard
Right.
place
And you got
discussion.
nice hours, you have your weekends and holidays unless something goes out,
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a plus side. Do we know if, with this, if we're going to keep any linemen, or don't you know yet?
I mean, that's really something we should discuss.
Yeah, we probably can't, that's
Yeah.
all right, it doesn't matter.
Good job, Dan.
Any other questions? If not, to have a motion?
And Ken, if I could just really quick, just
Sure.
in your motion to set, a specific rate, the idea here just, because we still need to finish changing the contract. I've spoken to Tom Hogan, he's, obviously gonna work with us, but,
Right.
kind of the two options is we can look at increasing a certain rate kind of effective almost immediately and then follow the July 1 increases, or, we could look at just making this.
Well, I think it gotta be worked out with the union, I would be more comfortable, as long as everything's worked out with them, unless you guys have a different.
That has to be
I-
agreed, it
Well,
has
we
to be
can-
agreed by the union.
Yeah.
and-
We can approve we can give him the approval so he has the power to negotiate the
Right.
$10 an hour
Correct.
tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I'll make that motion. How do you want it, Grant?
I think Jeffrey sent it somewhere, the motion to approve city manager to negotiate with
Up to?
up to.
Okay.
To not to exceed.
Yeah, I motion that we approve the city manager to go up to a $10 per hour raise for the in regards to the electric department pay rates.
Support.
Mr. Moraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Who supported that?
I do.
Rico.
Rico and
Me and Rico.
Item number 6, electric department grant application request headgate.
So, this item and the next item are kind of related, because there's a lot of unknowns, there's a lot of big projects here. Again, Scott's here to kind of answer some of the in-depth questions you might have. So, what we have here are projects that we can potentially get grant funding through the DOE. We'll start with the guard lock. The guard lock, from my understanding, talking to Scott, it's a project that we've already, I think last year, started the engineering for this. And has a rough estimate of this might totally cost about $1 million with a 30% potential grant funding for the DOE. So right now, there's kind of a two-phase. If there's some money needed for the letter of intent to be written, these are technical grants, so this is something similar to the grant that you guys approved a few months back, where we had PSC write the grant because of the technicality of it. This is similar to that. So we're requesting up to $15,000 for the letter of intent and the physical grant itself. Right now, all we need is a small portion of that for the letter of intent. And then if we decide to proceed with the actual grant, that's when the remaining 15, remaining balance of the 15 would come into play. My perspective of this is, we have this potential project, continuing to finish the other project, which is our next item for the head gate, and we also have potential upgrade through the other DOE grant. So with these two projects, what I would hope is that we get the letter of intent out, and then we really start getting into the finances of this and that long-term timetable of when, how long these projects will take, how much money is actually going to be needed per year, because these grants typically are open for 5 years once you receive it, so it wouldn't all be expended in 1 year, but there's potentially 3 projects that will be going on together. So we really need to get into how much we're spending each year so this balances out. And that's something we really want to work on through the rest of June, but we do need to get the letter of intent out there before June 22nd in order to apply. So we would hope to get that out there, and as we start running the numbers and trying to figure out how we move forward, if it all makes sense, we continue with the grant itself. It's just the timetable to get the letter of intent is short. And Scott can kind of get more detail on that, but that kind of combines both those projects in that sense, if that makes any sense.
I can expand upon that a little bit. So I'll just start with headgate grant. This is a project we're already working on. We've already got a couple installed. So the DOE came out about 2 weeks ago with their more detailed guidance. And for once, the DOE said, we are actually going to make this money retroactive to projects that have already been started. Hallelujah. Headgates qualify for this under a safety and reliability standpoint. So that's great. So that's a $500,000 project. I am not certain if we can include our labor because we're the ones installing them. I think we can. So we should be able to, at a minimum, we get 150 grand back from the DOE. I expect it to be higher than that because I believe we can include our wages. If you recall, I sent the headgate installation out to Myron and a couple other folks for installation just to have a competitive bid, and they're around $300,000 to have them installed. We're doing it in-house. That's got to be worth something. So, I mean, at a minimum, $150,000 coming from the DOE if we get awarded that grant. Pretty nice considering we were already doing the project to begin with. Moving on to the guard lock project, I threw $1 million out there. I don't know. I have no idea at this point. We're at 90% on the engineering. I did send it out to TCR to say, hey, with your resources and your knowledge in the field, can you give me like a roundabout estimate? I haven't gotten that number back yet. I have to think it's around $1 million, but I don't know. So we figured that would be 30% of the 300 grand for that project. It's still real money coming out of our pocket, but unfortunately with the DOE, we've got 5 years to spend that money. We've never seen hydro grants before, and I don't know that we'll ever see them again. So it's one of these deals where we kind of got to make hay while the sun shines if we're going to capture this money. So between the two of them, we should be at a minimum of $450,000 coming into our coffers if we can get these grants. So in typical DOE fashion, they haven't exactly given the specifics of how they want the grant administered. That's why both of these proposals are for time and material, because no one's really certain what it's going to entail. So the money is included in next year's grant, or next year's budget, because that's where this is all going to fall. But what we're doing is basically asking council for a not to exceed amount, and we expect that we can do in front of that. And to Dan's point, as we look into the finances, if we start seeing that this is getting cloudy, we can halt it at any point because it's just time and material. We're not actually set to a fixed cost to either one of these. Now I should explain the vendors a little bit. The headgate grant is through Mead and Hunt. They're the folks that have designed the headgates, and they're the ones that are best apt to write the grant for it. With GEI, they were not as well in tune to the grant writing process, so I turned to PSC, who's writing the grants for the smart grid technology. And they are well known throughout the career field that they're very good at writing grants. So they got involved in the guard locks right away, and I'm very confident they can do a good job. So that's why we went with those couple different avenues. So yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot of work that has to go into this, but the return on it could be huge.
Just for clarification, Scott, when you put a T&M price out there and they give you 15 grand, not to exceed, you're gonna pay really close to 15 grand.
Most likely, yeah, most likely.
So you're looking at about 30,000 in engineering,
Correct.
which is fine.
And I put 40,000 in the budget because when I set the budget up, I didn't really know where this is gonna land. You know, the DOE, they're really good at making this complicated. So we're hoping that with the professionals we're getting, they can navigate those waters and get them the data that they need. I'm fairly confident we've got the right people on the job for what we're looking at doing here. So, pretty exciting stuff.
Are there any other questions? If not, do I have a motion?
Grant, two separate motions.
Yes, please.
A motion that Mead and Hunt be given the engineering for the Headgate grant project based off of the time and material price not to exceed $15,000.
Support.
Mr. Pop? Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Mararo?
Yes.
Item number 7, Electric Department Grant Application, Request Guard Lock. Do I have a motion?
A motion that are you going with PSE for this one?
PSC.
A motion that PSE be awarded the opportunity to write and administer the grant with a T&M price not to exceed $15,000.
Support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Mararo?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Item number 8, Electric Department AMI Tower Fiber.
I'll speak really quick and turn it over to Scott because he certainly has more information. My understanding is this kind of goes to, I know we have a lot of issues about with our equipment up on the hill being struck by lightning, and that's been burning out a lot of the equipment. And it sounds like we had lightning strikes over the weekend as well. What Scott and the cable guys looked at is the lightning hitting the building and the equipment, or is it hitting, I believe, like the ground and then coming back up through the connectivity of the coax? And so they're looking at a way to fix that so they like, so when it strikes the hill is not being redirected into our coax into the system.
When you're talking about the hill, are you talking about up by Servia's?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So what we're finding is the tower can get hit, and that doesn't really seem to be a problem. It's when the hill gets hit. We have Cat 5 buried in the ground that goes from the off-air head end to the AMI tower. And that lightning is getting in that Cat 5 and going up into the tower and frying it. So it's $2,200 every time we need the thing rebuilt. So our solution is to put fiber in the ground and do an analog conversion on it and make it non-conductive. We're going to duplicate that at the hydro as well. So that's our workaround, trying to keep it as isolated as possible. So the fiber we're going to order has got ends already burned on it. We just dig it in and terminate it, and then this has a conversion to it, and off we go. No guarantees that lightning still can't get in from the tower, but at least we have done what we can to prevent the solution to the problems that we're seeing right now. And from talking with David Ball earlier, he said pretty confident got hit over the weekend, but the tower itself got hit, which does not, once again, it doesn't seem like that's the issue.
Any other questions, comments?
In the last 5 years, how many times has this happened to create a bill of $2,250?
4 or 5. Yeah, 4 or 5 times. Now, sometimes it's, it hasn't been $2,250 the whole time because they've been able to like replace just the jack. But the last time, for sure, it got into the whole radio and fried the whole thing. So I shouldn't say it's every time been $2,250, but we have had to remove the guts of the tower, I would say 4 or 5 times to have it worked on.
Anybody else? If not, I need a motion.
This is a hard quote here, the 336860.
What's that, sir?
This is a hard quote for the entire project?
Yes, sir. That's for both the hydro and the TV bill one.
I motion that GoTech be awarded the project for the two AMI towers for a price of $3,368.60.
Support.
Is this something we could get quotes on from somebody else?
Was that Pop? Who's that?
No, it was me.
It is possible. GoTech obviously has the expertise, exactly what we have out there. So I turned to them to give me a solution. I didn't have a solution, they provided it to me. So once I had the solution from them, I probably could have gone to somewhere else, but I actually don't know who I was referring to.
So was that what came up with this idea?
Yes, sir.
Ready for roll?
I have a motion.
And support.
And a second.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Mararo?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
No.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes. We'll move on to mayor council comments. Scott? Brett?
I have none, thank you.
Jeff?
Nothing.
No comments, Madam Mayor.
Ready? I have nothing either. Grant, do you have anything?
No, thank you.
All right, Dan?
Just a quick couple things. We did receive our new garbage truck, so that should be getting striped here soon and out on the streets. The only other thing is I was hoping that we could schedule one more budget workshop with the council prior to the next 19th council meeting. So perhaps within the week of the 12th.
Well, when's your world tour over?
Be home Wednesday. So, yeah, so just if anyone has an idea of what their schedule looks like next Monday through Friday, whether we do that tonight or discuss it tomorrow or the day after, but we would like to get one in there. You know, we had one last week that we kind of try to meet with all of you as we could, since a lot of you weren't able to make it. So we did get those budgets out to you and discussed a little bit, but we have a couple more, and we'd like to do one more kind of full dress rehearsal, if you will, with kind of all the things we've discussed, the changes we've made with you guys to kind of put together that more solid draft before we get to that June 19th council meeting.
Yeah, and we all should be there for that final.
Oh, yeah.
12th through the 16th. Anybody have?
I won't be here 14th, 15th, or 16th.
How
You won't
about
be the
Monday,
14th, 14th, 15th, or 16th? Okay.
How about the 12th, Monday?
I won't be here the 12th or 13th. Seems we're at an impasse.
Yes.
Anyone who, I mean, if we can get most of you, if anyone who's not there, you know,
Yeah.
I'm happy to meet with them, you know, one-on-one to go over kind of what was discussed, just so whoever that person may or be, that they do have all the information.
Anytime on the day, the 14th or the 16th, I'm free. If I'm the odd man out and can, you know, if it works out well for everyone else, I could come in either one of those times or maybe
I think I can make any of them days work, for the most part.
I can do afternoons on the 12th or the 13th. Afternoon on the 14th.
What time, Ken?
Like 5 o'clock.
On Wednesday?
On the 12th, 13th, 14th?
12th, 13th. 14th, I might be able to do a little earlier. I just gotta check my schedule.
school board meeting. I'd be out.
You wanna go for the 13th at 5?
Is that good? I don't know.
It's Tuesday.
And Enrico, we get you up to speed?
Yeah.
I could come in
Listen to you down there.
during the day, any one of those days after that to get brought up to speed.
Do you guys got something going on that day?
No, I don't believe so.
Should we do that, 5 o'clock on Tuesday?
We can set that up for now.
13th?
The
unless something
13th?
changes, Yeah.
Yeah, just tentative for now?
Tentative for now, and if something comes up.
Yeah.
If we don't hear nothing from anybody, we're gonna post it. You know, we'll give it a,
Enrico said he can go come in and see Dan 101 or whatever, and they'll get him up to speed on the 14th or the 16th?
Yep.
All right,
So did you guys decide the 13th?
at 5.
at 5?
Can you do any earlier, or is 5? 5 is the,
Yeah.
You always gotta ask for more, Trish, all the time.
it's not about me.
Should
5 p.m.
That works for me, so.
Got it.
Well, thank you, Dan.
I mean, everything works for me, Jeff.
He's sassing you right now.
And,
I'm going to the happy.
I forgot to text you guys, I don't know if you checked your emails, but, Scott had an explanation about the power outage and what happened that day. I meant to text you guys to check your emails.
Yep.
Did
So,
you get
but
a
I
chance
had
to
him,
look
when
at
he
it?
called me, I had him send that out to everybody.
Thanks. I did get it.
How do you find feathers out there?
It wasn't much. The thing evaporated. Yeah.
All right, if we have nothing else, is that all you had, Dan?
Yes, that's all I have.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Support.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Moraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop? Mrs. Brew?
Yes,
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
meeting adjourned.
I'm going to Disney tomorrow.
You're going to Disney? Yeah. Have fun.
Whole family, brick steak in the
All right, Dan, I'll let